Hey guys, this is Romeo and Juliet, Act 2, Scene 2. This is the balcony scene. This is one of the most famous scenes from Romeo and Juliet. Some of you may already be aware of it. It's the one where Romeo stands at Juliet's balcony. And the learning objectives are you're going to be able to analyse devices from the scene, explain their effect on the audience, write what they reveal about the character's plot, tonal setting, and draw connections between the text and outside of it. You're also going to be able to paraphrase the scene in your own words. So, without further ado, let's begin. So we start the scene, it's outside Juliet's balcony, and Romeo is speaking. He says he jests at scars that never felt a wound. Here he's talking about Mercutio. Act 1, Scene 1, I haven't done a video for because there's some inappropriate stuff there. Mercutio and Benvolio are talking, they're making jokes about Romeo and how soppy he is and stuff like that, and how shallow and silly in love he is. So they're making these jokes about him and Rosaline, and Romeo's heard it and now he's kind of angry at Mercutio for saying such things. And then he sees Juliet, she enters at a window and he says, "But soft, what light through yonder window breaks." So what light is coming from that window? It is the east and Juliet is the sun. So Juliet's the sun, and like the sun, she's rising from the east, so they've got that big metaphor there. Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief. So kill the moon, who's jealous of you, already sick and pale with sadness. Obviously the moon's silver, not like the bright, burning, beautiful sun. So that he's continuing the metaphor here. That thou, her maid, art far more fair than she, being not her maid, since she is envious. So don't be envious. You shouldn't be the maid of the moon. The moon should be your maid because the moon is envious. You are far more beautiful, and you should not be the moon's maid. Her vestal livery is sick, but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. Cast it off. So there's another bit there. I'm not going to go into detail there. It is my lady. Oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. So I wish she knew just how much I loved her. If only I could tell her. If only she was aware. And then he continues. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses, I will answer it. So she speaks, she's saying something, but I'm too far away to hear. I can't hear what she says. But, oh well, it doesn't matter anyway. Her eyes speak, I will answer her eyes. So, yeah, he's saying she's got beautiful eyes, but he's also saying the words that come out of her mouth aren't important. So it establishes this idea that Romeo is a shallow person, only interested in Juliet for her beauty. And he says, I am too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. I shouldn't be so presumptuous to think she's speaking to me. Two of the fairest stars in all of heaven, having some business do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their sphere till they return. So what they're saying here is the most brightest, beautiful stars in all of heaven in the sky have had to go away on some business, and they've asked her eyes to take their place in the sky in heaven and sparkling in heaven. And they said, what if her eyes were there? They in her head? So what if her eyes were in the sky and the stars were in her head? The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars. So her cheeks are even brighter than if we replaced her eyes with the most beautiful stars. A daylight doth a lamp her eyes in heaven, would through the airy region stream so bright, that birds would sing and think it were not night. So what he's saying here is that as the sun is outshone by a lamp, her eyes in the sky would also be so bright. They would be so bright that the birds would think it was daylight at night time, and they would sing in the morning. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek. Now, what I think Shakespeare's doing here is he is mocking something called a blazon. Now, I've taken this from a slideshow. This isn't my words, but I was too lazy to write this. So, a blazon is basically a type of poetry, and it was really popular in Elizabethan England. So, in a blazon, what they would do is they would use lots of big, grandiose metaphors to compare various parts of a woman to other things. So they would often like link these metaphors. So obviously we've got Juliet is the sun, her eyes are the stars, her cheeks would outshine the stars if they replaced their eyes with stars. So this is a blazon. It's hyperbole, similes, and metaphors to describe a woman's physical features, and they were really, really popular in Elizabethan England. So the audience would have immediately identified this as being a blazon, and cheeks like roses, lips like coral, teeth like pearls. But what I think is important here, what I think Shakespeare's doing, is he's trying to mock the blazon in a way. So Shakespeare didn't just write plays, he also wrote sonnets and published sonnets, 154 to be exact. And sonnet 130 is in the form of a blazon. But let's read it. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. So my mistress's eyes are not like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. So coral, which is pink, is still red, more red than her lips. If snow be white, why then her breasts are dun, so that's a brown colour. If hairs be wise, black wires grow on her head. Let's go, I like this bit here. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. So her breath is smelly. But let's go down to the Volta here. So the rhyming couplet at the end of the Volta. And yet by heaven, I think my love is rare, as any she believed with false compare. So what he's saying here is like, my woman is normal, and yet I love her anyway for being normal. So I think in this sonnet 130, Shakespeare's trying to say, like, women aren't all comparable to stars or the sun or these grandiose sort of metaphors that people use. But that doesn't mean that love is any less real. You love someone for far more deeper things than their looks and their beauty and these shallow ideas, really. So I think with this speech from Romeo, he's actually trying to say, like, Romeo is a bit shallow, a bit naive, that he's using a blazon and can only talk about Juliet's physical beauty. He's never actually professed his love to her yet. He's barely spoken a few words. They've had this sonnet in the previous act, but they've not spoken that much. They don't know each other very well, and Romeo's, again, showing his hamartia. I fall in love too quickly. I love her because she's beautiful. And it is quite shallow. I think Shakespeare's trying to mock that and show how silly people are. Again, when you're doing your level 3 analysis, remember you can link to outside text, other pieces of text, so you can actually refer to sonnet 130 now. So then we continue with the scene. Juliet says, I am me. Romeo says, she speaks, so speak again, bright angel, for thou art as glorious to this night being over my head, as is a winged messenger of heaven, upon the white upturned wondering eyes of mortals that fall back and gaze on him, when he bestrides the lazy puffing clouds and sails upon the bosom of the air. So, speak again, you bright angel, for that's what you are. You're glorious to this night, over my head like a winged messenger of heaven, like an angel, upon the white upturned wondering eyes. So the mortal, my Alexa's going off. Upon the normal people, the mortals, the humans, looking up in the sky, their white upturned eyes looking, gazing on this angel when he bestrides, when he walks on these puffing clouds and sails upon the bosom of the air. So he's comparing her to an angel now, or how angels make people feel. O Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou Romeo? I'm sure some of you have heard this before. Deny thy father and refuse thy name, or if thou wilt not, be but sworn by my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet. So Romeo, Romeo, why must you be a Romeo? Reject your name, refuse it, stop being a Montague, and if you won't do that and you still tell me you love me, then I'll no longer be a Capulet then. Again, I think this shows Juliet to be kind of naive, basically saying, like, all right, you reject your family, but if you won't do it, I'll do it instead. Romeo, still far away at this point, says, shall I hear more, or shall I speak at this? 'Tis but thy name that is my enemy. So because you're a Montague, you're my enemy. Thou art myself, thou not a Montague. Again, you're you would still be yourself if you weren't a Montague. What's Montague? It is not hand, it is nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So again, I don't know if you've heard this before. So, which we call a rose by any other name would still smell as sweet. A rose is sweet regardless of the name we've given it. It's the smell that's sweet, not the name. Right, Montague, what does that name actually mean to me? You would still be Romeo, this person whom I love, even if you weren't a Montague. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, so again, Romeo would be, if he wasn't called Romeo, retain the dear perfection which he owns. Without that title, Romeo, doff thy name, discard the name, and for that name which is no part of thee, take all myself. So, exchange for you rejecting your name, take me instead. Romeo says, I take. So at this point, Romeo, like, he says he's there. Basically, she doesn't know he's there before this, and at this point, he actually speaks to her, gets her attention, says, I take the word. Call me but love, and I'll be new baptized. Henceforth, I will never be Romeo. So I believe you. I know you're right. I will change my name. I will be new baptized. I will be baptized new. I'll get rid of my name and have a new name, and I won't be Romeo from now on. And she says, what man art thou that thus bescreened in night? So stumbled on my counsel. So what person's there who's listening to my private thoughts? By a name. I know not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear say, is hateful to myself, because it is an enemy to thee. Had I it written, I would tear the word. So again, there's some religious imagery there. He's calling her a saint. His name is hateful to myself because it's your enemy. So I hate my name because it's your enemy. If I had it written down, I would tear up the word. And my ears have not yet drunk 100 words of thy tongue's utterance. Yet I know the sound, art thou not Romeo and a Montague? So I've only just heard a couple of lines from you. I've only heard a couple of words from you. And I know who you are. I know that sound. You're Romeo and Montague, right? Neither, fair saint, if either thee dislike. So it's kind of like, you can call me anything. How camest thou hither? Tell me, and wherefore? The orchard walls are high and hard to climb, and the place deaf, considering who thou art, if any of my kinsmen find thee here. So why are you here? How did you get here, and why are you here? The orchard walls. So again, there's a little reference here. We think back to Act 1, Scene 1. What was Romeo doing in the orchard, and how does this scene juxtapose what was happening in earlier scenes? But they're high and hard to climb, and the place of death. So if you come here, you'll be killed, considering who you are. If any of my kinsmen, my family, see you here, they're going to kill you. And he says, with love's light wings, with love's light wing did I overperch these walls. So I climbed over these walls because these light wings of love, Cupid's wings, make me feel so light, and I'm able to fly over. For stony limits cannot hold love out. So love can't hold back anything, it finds a way. And what love can do, that dares love attempt. Therefore thy kinsmen are no stop to me. So you can do anything when you're in love. I dare to do anything, and your kinsmen can't stop me. She says, if they do see thee, they will murder thee. Alack, there lies no more peril in thine eye than 20 of their swords. Look thou but sweet, and I am proof against the enmity. So what he's saying here is like, there's more danger in your evil in your eyes when they're giving me a bad look. Okay, so there's more danger in a bad look from you than 20 of their swords. So please give me like a nice look, and it will protect me against their hostility, their aggression, their violence. I would not for the world they saw thee here. So what she's saying here, I really, really don't want them to see you here. Please go away. I have night's cloak to hide me from their eyes. So I have the cloak of night to cover me, to make me blind to them. But thou love me, let them find me here. My life were better ended by their hate than death prorogued, wanting of thy love. So I'd rather them kill me here and live a short life, but in love, than have this really long life, this death that's postponed and prolonged, wanting your love and not getting it. So basically, I don't mind if I die, providing that you love me. I'd rather die by them with being in love with you than not being in love with you at all and live to be 100. Romeo's quite silly. By whose direction foundst thou of this place? How did you get here? By love, who first did prompt me to inquire. He lent me counsel, and I lent him eyes. So Cupid told me how to get here. He told me what to do and who to ask for and how to seek you. He lent me his advice, and I gave him my eyes to show me the way. I am no pilot, so I'm no sailor, yet wert thou as far as that vast shore washed with the farthest sea, I would adventure some merchandise. So what he's saying here is, I'm no sailor, but even if you were, as the furthest sea could take you out, I would still travel there to get the treasure. So even if you were like washed to the farthest sea, I'd still travel there to get the treasure. And there's more stuff about sea in a bit, so just remember that. So now know the mask of night is on my face, so darkness is hiding my face. Else would a maiden blush bepaint my cheek, so otherwise you'd see me blushing. For that which thou hast heard me speak tonight, remember, she wasn't saying this earlier stuff to Romeo, she was saying it about him, and she didn't know Romeo was listening. Fain I would dwell on form, fain deny what I have spoke but farewell compliment. So what she's saying here is, like, I've done a bad thing, I've not followed formality, so I've been kind of impolite, I've been too forward about the way I feel, which is, it's not the way I'm supposed to do it, so I'm sorry about doing that. But farewell compliment, farewell etiquette. So now you've heard me, goodbye being polite. I've already made the mistake. Dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy word. Yet if thou swearest, thou mayst prove false. So basically, do you love me? I know you're going to say yes, and I'll believe you if you do. Yet if you swear, you might still be lying. At lovers' perjuries, they say Jove laughs, so they say the god Jupiter, again more allusion to Roman gods. At love's perjuries, they say Jove laughs, O gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully. So again, at lovers' lies, they say the god Jupiter laughs. Please don't be the one to lie. If you love me, please be faithful, please say it honestly. Or if you think that I am too quickly won, so if you think I'm being too forthcoming, a bit too quick in this, a bit too easy basically, I'll frown and be perverse and say thee nay. So I'll be no, and I'll play hard to get. So thou will woo, but else not for the world. So for anything else, you'll woo me, you'll try and get my attention. Remember, the word woo is in Act 1, Scene 2, I want to say, when Lord Capulet tells Paris to woo her. So to woo means to flirt, basically. In truth, fair Montague, I am too fond, so I really love you, Romeo, and therefore thou mayst think my behaviour light. So you might think I'm not serious, you might think that I do this all the time with people, you might think this is normal behaviour for me, but trust me, gentlemen, I'll prove not more true than those that have more coying to be strange. So I'll show you that I'm more honest and faithful than those who do play hard to get. I should have been more strange, more aloof, more shy, secretive, I must confess. But that thou overheard, or I was aware, so the stuff you overheard before I was aware you were there. My true love passion, therefore pardon me, and not impute this yielding to like love. So don't assume because I love you that I'm so easy or that it's not real. This is really real stuff, which the dark night hath so discovered. Lady, by yonder blessed moon, I swear, that tips with silver all the fruit tree tops. I swear not by the moon, the inconsistent moon, that monthly changes in her circled orb. So basically the moon keeps changing, the moon is inconsistent, it changes all the time, it changes its orbit. Obviously we see different waxes and wanes of the moon. Lest that thy love prove likewise variable, so in case your love is just like the moon, is just as inconsistent as the moon. What shall I swear by? Do not swear at all, or if thou wilt, swear by thy gracious self, which is the God of my idolatry, basically like going for an idol. Um, so what she's saying here is swear by your gracious self, which is the God of my idolatry. So you're kind of my idol, Romeo. So swear by yourself, and I'll believe it because you're the most important person ever. So again, Juliet is kind of naive. I'll believe thee. If my heart's dear love, well, do not swear, although I join thee. Change from my book. Do not swear, although I join thee. So, although you make me feel joyful, don't swear. I have no joy of this contract tonight. So, don't do it tonight. It is too rash, too unadvised, too sudden. It's too soon. Too like the lightning which doth cease to be. One can say it lightens, sweet good night. So, don't be like this love is, I don't want it to be like the lightning which stops before one could even say it lightens. So before that, good night, leave me. This bud of love by summer's ripening breath may prove a beauteous flower when next we meet. So this little bud, this little baby flower, give it time and it will become this beautiful flower the next time we meet. But now things are going too fast. Leave me, go. Good night, a sweet repose and rest. Come to thy heart as that within my breast. So go away, go have a sleep, enjoy a rest, and come to thy heart as within my breast, as the feelings in my heart. Oh, wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied? What satisfaction canst thou have tonight? The exchange of thy love's faithful vow for mine. So he's like, please, just tell me you love me. I'll tell you I love you. She said, I gave thee mine before thou did request it, and yet I would it were to give again. So I wish I was still able to give it again. Because remember, Romeo overheard it. It wasn't said to him, it was just said about him, and he could hear it. Wouldst thou withdraw it? For what purpose? Love? But to be frank, so just to be lavish, and give it thee again. And yet I wish but for the thing I have. My bounty is as boundless as the sea. My love is deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite. So I've got so much of this love. I could give it. I want to give you my vows of love again. I want to keep giving you all this love. My bounty, my generosity is as boundless as the sea, and my love is just as deep. So a couple of similes there, and again they link back to when he referred to her as treasure at sea. And then the nurse calls for Juliet. He says, I hear some noise within, dear love, adieu. Anon, good nurse. Sweet Montague, be true. Stay but a little, I will come again. And she goes in, and Romeo's sitting there. Oh, blessed, blessed night, I am afeard, I am afraid. Being in night, all this is but a dream, too flattering sweet to be substantial. So it's too wonderful to even be real. Juliet comes out again. 3 words, dear Romeo, and good night indeed. So 3 more words, and then I'm done, I'm going to sleep. If that thy bent of love should be honourable, so if your intentions really are honourable, thy purpose marriage, send me word tomorrow. So if you are as true as you say and as honourable as you say, then despite the fact that we've just met tonight, send me word about marrying each other tomorrow. By one that I'll procure to come to thee. So I'll arrange someone, I'll get someone to come to you. Where and what time thou wilt perform the rite. So where are we going to do the wedding? And all my fortunes at thy foot I'll lay. So all my life I'll give it to you, and follow thee, my Lord, throughout the world. Again, she's just willing to give him everything. She's calling him a god to her idolatry. She's calling him a lord. She says she'll give all her fortunes at his feet. You know, what kind of things does that suggest about her and about Elizabethan England and about him as well? The nurse calls her again. Madame, I come anon, but if thou meanest not well, I do beseech thee, so I beg you. Madame, by and by I come to cease thy suit, so I beseech thee to cease thy suit, so I beg you to stop this courtship and leave me to my grief. So stop asking me to be your girlfriend, leave me to my grief. Tomorrow I will send. So thrive my soul, so bless my soul upon my soul 1,000 times good night. And then Romeo says, 1,000 times the worse to want thy light. Love goes toward love as schoolboys from their books. Oh, you guys will like this bit. So love go toward love as schoolboys from their books, but love from love towards school with heavy books. So basically, where did I write this here? Hang on, because I forgot where I wrote that. But basically, he's saying like you want to leave love like schoolboys want. Love wants to come to love. So I want to come to you. My love wants to come towards your love. The same way schoolboys want to go away from school. But love from love is like being apart from each other. My love being away from your love is like going to school. It's basically saying kids don't want to go to school the way I don't want to be apart from you. Kids want to run from school the way I want to run towards you. And then Juliet, here's Romeo hissed. Oh, for a falconer's voice. So a falconer is someone who has a bird, a falcon. And a falconer's voice is going to be a whistle. To lure this tassel gentle back again. So to lure this noble hawk back again. Bondage is hoarse and may not speak aloud, else would I tear the cave where echo lies. So basically, if only I had a whistle to lure my noble hawk back again, but my father's really strict. I'm not allowed to do anything. I'm trapped here, so I cannot be too loud. Else I would tear the cave where echo lies and make her airy tongue more hoarse than mine. So Echo is from Greek mythology, right? She's a wood nymph. Long story short, Hera, who's Zeus's wife, she put a curse on the wood nymph Echo, right? Which made her only able to repeat what anyone said to her. So if I said hello, she could say hello. If I said my name's Tom, she could only say my name's Tom, right? Because Hera was crazy and Zeus was always being silly. So Hera went Earth and she found a fella called Narcissus. Now I don't know if any of you have heard of the word narcissism, but it comes from this Greek myth, Narcissus, and he rejected her and he actually fell in love with with his own reflection. So that's the story of Echo. There's some illusion there. Again, I don't know if you want to link it in level 3 analysis maybe. And make her airy tongue horse than mine. So because she's constantly shouting out and repeating stuff back to people to try and get attention, and she wants Narcissus' attention, her voice has become quite hoarse. And with repetition of my Romeo, so she's going to keep repeating my Romeo, much like Echo keeps repeating. And it is the soul that calls upon my name, how silver sweet sound lovers' tongues by night, like the softest music attending my ears. So my name's being called by my soul as well. The sound of lovers is really beautiful. It's like soft music to my ears. Romeo. So when she calls his name, it's like music. Romeo, my dear, what o'clock tomorrow shall I send to thee? So what time should I send the fella to talk about marriage tomorrow? By the hour of 9, I will not fail. 'Tis 20 years till then. So some hyperbole there. Obviously, it's not 20 years. It's a few hours. I have forgot why I did call back thee. Let me stand here till thou remember it. So I'll stand here until you can remember it. I shall forget to have thee still stand there, remembering how I love the company. So while you're there, I can't think of anything else but you. I can only think about your company. It's all I remember, and I forget the other thing. And Hebrew says, and I'll still stay to have thee still forgetting any other home but this. So I'll just live in the moment. 'Tis almost morning, I would have thee gone, and yet no further than a wanton's bird. So I don't want you going further than a pet bird, than a girl's pet bird, a spoiled girl's pet bird, who let it hop a little from her hand, like a poor prisoner in his twisted gyves. So she's got a bird attached with silk thread, and she lets the bird go a little bit and she plucks it back. Remember, it's a spoiled girl's pet bird. So loving, jealous of his liberty. So she's comparing herself to this like spoiled girl who's got this pet bird who lets it go a little bit and pulls it back, lets it go, pulls it back, and she's saying she wants to do that with Romeo. And I would I were thy bird, sweet, so would I. So I wish I were that bird, sweet, so would I, sweetheart, so would I. Yet I would kill thee with much cherishing, so I'd smother you with all the loving I have to give. Good night, parting is such sweet sorrow. There's an oxymoron there. That I shall say good night till it be morrow. Sleep, dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast. So have a nice sleep. Would I were sleep and peace so sweet to rest. So I wish I was asleep, sleeping so sweetly. Hence, I will go to my ghostly friar's cell. So again, this is the friar who is going to actually marry them. We already know this from the prologue. His help to crave and my dear hap to tell. And then he exits, and that's the scene. So what you're going to do for this assignment, there's 3 parts to it. The first bit, 5 to 10 bullet points, just summarise the scene in your own words, nothing too fancy. Number 2, analyse 5 devices using the level 1, 2, 3 in the table like you've been doing. And number 3, I want you to watch the different versions of this scene, choose your favourite and write a response explaining why you chose that one. So your response doesn't have to be this super long thing. It can just be, 1 paragraph. Why did you choose that? Avoid first person pronouns still. I want you to do it in the passive voice if you can, or just speak in blank statements. Don't say it was my favourite, just say of the videos. Hang on, sorry, I'm trying to think now. The video most effective, or the video most preferred, something like that would suffice. And there you go, that's it. 3 assignments. Good luck.